Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Kristina and today we're doing our very first Project Pan update for 2026. I'm very excited, not necessarily because we have any like huge updates, but just because I love filming these videos and I feel like you guys have also been enjoying them. Did anyone else watch the Super Bowl, or more accurately, did anyone watch the halftime show? I did. It was so good. I was so excited to see it. Did I understand anything? No, I didn't, but I understood the vibes, I understood the rhythm, and I understood the messaging, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. So good. Additionally, I have been looking at my analytics and it shows me that a lot of you guys that actually watch my Project Pan videos are not yet subscribed. Maybe you don't know that you're subscribed. Maybe you've been testing it out to see if it's interesting enough for you to subscribe. But if you have not already, I do encourage you to subscribe in case you want to follow along or just support my channel or just like hang out and see my other videos. I do Project Pans, empty videos. I talk about new releases, and I do a lot of showdowns these days. So if you're interested in any of those, I would highly encourage you guys to join us while we are on this makeup journey. So I want to start with probably the biggest update that I have. Oh, actually, no, let me start with this. So I removed the Surratt eyeshadow palette from my project because we went ahead and surpassed our goal for that one. So let me pull up my Counter app. A lot of you guys have asked me about this app. It's literally just called Counter. I'll link it down below if I can for you guys, but it's a super watered down, very easy app where I just listed the products that are in my project. And then every time I use it, I just go in here and I click it once and that's it. So the Surratt Beyond the beige palette, I think that my usage goal was 15 times maybe, and I surpassed that. I hit 17 times. And then I was like, oh wait, I passed my goal, so I went ahead and removed that one because I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was 2 videos ago, like 2 updates ago, I had said that I was bringing in new products. Once I finished my goal for the Surratt one, I was going to go ahead and bring in those new products, so that's what I did. So now let's talk about this palette right here. This is the Natasha Denona Glam Face palette in the shade Light, and as you guys can see, I removed the eyeshadows. Now this was not an easy task, let me tell you. So what I did was I actually put it in this beautiful Salt New York small compact. It's a magnetic compact that I got sent to me with a bunch of salt products, but I actually compiled all of those into a different magnetic palette. And as you can see, I have a tiny little one here because I broke one of the shades, and it was such a bummer because it's actually my favorite shade from all 5 that I had been using in that palette. So, but on the bright side, I was able to repress it and it seems to be working fine. I'm still being very, very careful with this just because I don't know how sturdy this eyeshadow is. So my original idea, I was going to put it into an even smaller compact, but it was too small. It didn't fit all of the eyeshadows. So I just went ahead and I put it in here, which when I was looking at it, I was like, it's not that much smaller, but it is a lot easier to store, and I think having it in this is a lot more appealing to like travel with. Whereas with this one, I just didn't want to take this whole palette with me, and I don't really utilize the blush or the highlight in that, so I'm just focusing on the eyeshadows here. So originally I thought that I could go ahead and just like shimmy the pans out, maybe remove the white plastic around the eyeshadows, but it's really in there. It almost seems like one piece, but I'm pretty sure it's not. But I do think that it's like glued in there because I couldn't really find an entryway to remove it. So then I thought, okay, let me just go ahead and remove the eyeshadows. So I took this little double-ended tool that I have that I used during my making mini makeup series, and I kind of shimmied it between the pans and then the white plastic here, and it seemed to have been working. But because these eyeshadows are pressed so softly, specifically the matte eyeshadows, it just had a tendency to break. So I got that first shimmery shade that's labeled as the inner corner shade out with no problem. I did notice that it was kind of moving around in the pan, but the thing with the shimmer shades is that they're super creamy, almost like a cream eyeshadow texture, but not quite. So I was able to move it without it fully cracking. With the matte eyeshadow, however, it's press so softly, and that's another reason why I was like a little hesitant to bring this whole palette with me traveling, because I felt like the eyeshadows just wouldn't withstand any like movement or getting hit or anything while traveling. And I tried to go around the entire eyeshadow pan to wiggle it out, but I guess the bottom section cracked just enough and it had like a hairline fracture in it to where once I actually got it off and the adhesive came off of the pan, it was enough of a sudden movement, I guess, for the pan to crack. And I was so sad. I was like, oh no, I don't know what to do. Do I like leave this how it is? Do I finish taking them out? And I kind of started to take out the next matte shade, and I saw that there was like another little hairline fracture occurring, and I was like, no, I can't do it. So I left it alone. I thought about it, and what I ended up doing, or actually my husband helped me do this, we took that little tool and we actually used some floss underneath it, because I realized the adhesive was almost like an adhesive sticker, not necessarily like a hard piece of glue. So really we just had to like peel that sticker back. So we took some floss, we shimmied it in there with that double-ended tool, and then went back and forth. We got it to come out. Now the first one that we did, it flew off and it popped, but luckily it only chipped a tiny bit right there in the corner. It's this one right here in the corner. So the next one, whenever we were pulling the floss back and forth, I had my finger on top of it so it couldn't pop up, you know, and that seemed to work fine. We got all the other shades out, and like I said, I did repress that transition shade. It's called Transition within the palette, and I pressed it very lightly because I always seem to have a problem with repressing powders. I press them too hard no matter what I do. So this time what I did was I crushed it up until it was super fine and even powder, and then I took some rubbing alcohol. I did a couple drops, and I actually used a Q-tip versus like a flat surface and pushing it down. I used a Q-tip to kind of roll that top down, make it slightly creamy, but I used very little pressure, which is another reason why I want to be very careful with this, because I don't know how far down this actually pressed. I'm not sure if it's just the top layer of this that's pressed down and like secure, like what's going on. Either way, I have played with the idea of adding a couple of other shades in here now that I have this going on. I have used this palette 13 times since the last update, and at that point I had only used it twice. Now the reason why it was so low was because I was still using up the Surratt one and trying to hit that goal, and then I was going to move this in, so I hadn't been using it as often. But then once I moved the Surratt one out and moved this one in, I have gotten a ton of use out of this. I really love the fact that all of the colors complement each other, and it really takes out that decision fatigue of looking at a huge eyeshadow palette and trying to pick out different looks. This one I can get a little bit custom with it. I don't necessarily have to use the transition in the crease, or I don't have to use the inner corner just in the inner corner, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've been able to make multiple looks out of this, and I've been really happy with it. I think just the overall tones of these work really well for my eyes and my complexion, so any look that I make similar to the Surratt one, I'm just happy with. I wore this for a big birthday party that we had for my younger sister, and it was so easy because we were running around that day and I didn't want to think too hard about my makeup, so this gave me a beautiful look without even having to really think about it. I wear this whenever I just want a little bit of something inside my crease or a little bit of something on my eyelids. I'll go in with the sparkles by themselves and they look beautiful. They give me like that wet eyelid effect. I've gone in with this darker brown tone for kind of like a smokier eyeliner eyeshadow look. It's just so versatile. I really enjoy it, and I love these textures. I think that they are so good. I'm super happy that I added this to the project pan because I had this palette for a very long time and I was just not using it. And with taking this out and adding it to my project pan, I've realized how much I love this palette, and I don't know when I would have come to that realization if not for this project. The other eyeshadow palette that we added at the same time as that Natasha one is this Nomad Air Travel palette. This one I haven't gotten as much use out of, so during our last update, it says that I had used this 2 times, and on my counter app, I have this at 8 times. So not as much, but still a good amount, I would say, especially because I was getting so much use out of that other palette. palette. This again is going to be on the neutral side, and I thought it would be something that would be nice to travel with, obviously, but also because they are neutral, and I know myself, I have a lot of neutral eyeshadow palettes and eyeshadows in general, and they're kind of the ones that I reach for all the time. I figured it would be an easy way to incorporate another eyeshadow palette, and I do think that has been the case, but I've been loving the Natasha one so much that I almost kind of forget, like, I need to use this one as well. I believe my goal for this one, if I'm not mistaken, is 15 times. Maybe I'll have to double check that for you guys. I still like this palette. It's not like blowing me away the same way, just because I feel like some of the tones work better for me. So for instance, I reach for these a lot, and this shade specifically, I've really only used as a wing with eyeshadow, you know, and then I don't really reach for this shade too much because I feel like that's a bit too smoky for like every day for myself. And this is great for inner corner, and this one I would say would be the best one for my eyelid, but even so, I feel like it's a little bit more rosy toned versus what I usually go for. So there's been a couple times where I've actually mixed these two to get an in-between shade, and I think that works pretty well, but still it's not as intuitive for me, and it's a little bit like, oh well, if I have neutrals and shimmers that I want to reach for in the project, I'm gonna just reach for the Natasha one. So I'm happy that I've been using this one, but it's still not going to like take the place of the Natasha one, if that makes sense. The Makeup by Mario Bronzing Shaping Serum in the shade Medium. So I didn't create a new line for this one because I was looking at this last couple days. I was kind of just letting the product settle because I have been using this quite often, but it hasn't really moved. So I decided I just wasn't going to make a new line for it. But this one I did weigh it, and it does look like we used up a gram of this since the last update, which is surprising to me because just looking at the lines right here, I was like, oh, there's not really a change. But weighing it, I was pleasantly surprised to see that we did actually use up a good amount. Oh, and I also want to note that I did have this in a mini container with my travel makeup products. So I did have that one, and I was actually trying to use that one over this one, but then I was like, I guess I want to keep this for my travel makeup. So I would say probably at the beginning or mid-January, I put that one away. I put it with my travel makeup, and then I started using this one again. So that is why we are seeing a gram of use out of this one. But I do want to let you guys know that we realistically have probably used up more than that. I'm still really loving this one, and I'm seeing that with my preferences changing in terms of finish for products, I'm liking things that are a little bit more matte. I'm kind of leaning towards more powder products like powder bronzers, powder blushes and things versus cream and liquid blushes and bronzers these days. While that's kind of been my preference, I do still feel like this is thin enough to use as a foundational bronzer color underneath my blushes and my bronzers without it really affecting the finish too much. It just adds a little bit of like a foundational color. So to kind of explain that a little further, you know, when you use an eyeshadow base, like an eyeshadow primer, but it has color to it just to kind of like even out the eyelid, I kind of see this the same way as using it in the perimeters of my face. Once I use foundation or concealer or something, it kind of flattens out the face. And I think that this allows to bridge that gap between a more pale foundation and a very dark brown bronzer. I feel like this kind of transitions it a little bit more naturally. So I really like this for that reason. And I feel like I can use a good amount of this without it looking crazy on the skin because one, the formula, and two, the actual color that I chose. Let's talk about our lip liners. So I have both of our lip liners here, starting with the Makeup Forever Anywhere Caffeine Artist Color Pencil. This one I did see a little bit of a change here. Where is she? So it is quite small. I'm looking at my little page right here where I've been making my little tally marks. It's more than I thought, okay? For a while there, I was thinking that there wasn't much of a change, but I'm kind of seeing the progression of using this pencil up, and every time I think there's not really a change, there is, even if it's very, very slight. And I'm actually really impressed because, as you guys know, I did a huge overhaul and a huge audit of my lip collection and my cheek products. And my lip collection, I made it a point to really try to use a lot of my different products to later decide if I was going to keep them within my collection. I explain more in my audit videos, and I'll link those down below if you guys want to see them. But with that being said, I was testing a lot of different lip liners, and I had a ton of lip liners in my possession, you guys. So seeing that there was still even a small change in this liner, I was very impressed. So I mentioned that I wanted to kind of try to use this as a wing because it is a multi-pencil, but really I realized I only like this as a lip liner or lip color. It just doesn't really do as much for my eyes as it does for my lips. And then we have the Glossier Buff lip liner. So this one is an even smaller difference than our Makeup Forever one, but I still thought that it was worth making a new tally mark right here because there is a slight change right there. And same thing goes, I was testing out a bunch of different lip liners and kind of trying new lip combos. So this one definitely took a backseat in that sense, but I do think over time looking at this, I have slowed down a ton with this lip liner. I think I've just been enjoying trying out other things that I own, and it's okay. Like, I think that's fine. If you have a big collection and you're doing a project pan, do not feel bad or guilty for reaching into the rest of your collection, because for me, the whole idea is that I use the products that I have. So it doesn't really make sense to shame myself for doing that just because it's not listed in my project pan. You know what I'm saying? If anything, I would be more disappointed in myself if I went out and bought a new lip liner that I was then using more than this one. So that's kind of the way I see it. I know not everyone will see it that way, but I do think that progress is progress at this point. Let's talk about the fragrance that we have in our project, Lake and Skye 1111 perfume. So this one, the last time, said that I used it 12 times, and I have on my counter app that I used it 13 times. I saw that and I was like, that can't be right. But then I was thinking back and I was like, yeah, that's probably right, because towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year, really, I've gotten an influx of fragrances, and I've spoken about that a lot. The last year I feel like was the year for fragrances, specifically body mists, and I don't see that slowing down anytime soon. I've been making it a point to try to test out everything, see what actually sticks, and see what I actually want to keep in my collection, because again, towards the end of last year, I was very much in the mindset of I need to do an audit on everything beauty related that I own, including my fragrances. So that's why I was making it a point. And even if I wasn't going to do that, you guys, I think that best practice is to use the different things that you have, right? So I guess that I didn't use this really. I'm just going off of what I have here because I don't want to add numbers not knowing really, but I feel like I have layered this with different fragrances. I feel like I've worn this like on a random day when I was doing errands. Like, I almost remember that, but again, I don't want to put that if I don't know for sure. So we're gonna stick to 13 here. I do have my marks right here, and we're keeping them as is until we actually see it dip down. But in general, I do think that this is a lot of product used since I got this. A lot of my fragrances, especially the full bottle ones, don't have such a big dent in them. So this still speaks to how much I enjoy this. And I don't doubt that I'm going to go into like a phase where I'm only exclusively using this again, or I'm layering it with everything, because towards the end of last year, the beginning of this year, I used up my Dead Cool Mochi Milk. No, I'm sorry, my Dead Cool Milk fragrance, the travel sized one, because I was traveling with that one and I was layering it with everything, and I just loved it so much. For a while I had left that one alone, and I think that that kind of is in the same boat as this one, in the sense that this is a very good foundational fragrance. Now, do you need to mix and layer your fragrances? Absolutely not. But I think that it makes it really fun, and I think that it makes it really custom. And for someone like myself that wants to utilize more of the fragrances that I have and just like play around with it, I think that's a really good solution. Here's another one that I don't have a ton of use on. This middle mark is where we were at the last update, and then the new one is down here. It's a very small difference, a very small change here, but definitely worth mentioning because I feel like with a lot of lip products, any progress is great progress for me. Again, if you guys saw my lip audit, I had over 1,000 lip products and a lot of them were glosses or lip oils of some sort. So being able to see any sort of progress, seeing that we're actually getting somewhere, I'm very happy with. And every time that I have marked this, I've kept the doe foot in there, like I've kept this closed. But every time I take it out, I want to show you guys just so you can see. Now some of the product is up here, but you can see where the actual liquid, the actual product sits, and it's lower than where my tally mark is. So there's a lot less product here than it actually seems, which in this case, trying to use it up, I'm very happy with, and it's very motivating to see every time I use it. I'm like, oh, we're getting down to the bottom. It does give you a very sheer amount of red, and I think that this is a beautiful gloss in every single way that I've used it. So I've used it alone, I've used it with a lip liner, I've used it to top lip combos to make it slightly more red. It makes everything gorgeous. My last video that I posted, I did like a, what is it called? I can't remember what the trend was called. I think it was like cherry cola lips, where it's like a brown liner on the outside and then a red on the inside. I used this on the inside and it just looked so beautiful. Even my husband was like, whoa, your lip combo is so different from your usual. It looks really beautiful. I just love this. It's just so good. You know how there's a lot of like products out there that are a hybrid lip oil lip gloss combo or hybrid liquid lipstick lip gloss combo? This is a straight up gloss. So if you're looking for something that is shiny, not something that necessarily is going to have super long lasting power, but something that you can use just for like a shiny sheer topper, this one. And I love the applicator too. I do think that is a small detail that actually makes a really big difference. The applicator really hugs your lips and makes it very easy to use this product. It's not too fat of an applicator. And really, when you have a lot of products that have doe foots for your lips, you kind of start to see a difference with all of them. And this one is just fuzzy enough. There's enough flocking here to where it evenly distributes the product. The curve is perfect to where it's not too curved, it's not too flat or anything. It actually does something, you know? It does have a scent to it. It is a slight, what is it? Is it a vanilla? It kind of smells like cherry vanilla. I wouldn't be surprised because this is cherry vanilla. It doesn't linger forever, so if you're worried about the scent, you don't have anything to worry about there. So for this next one, I never set a usage goal. I just wanted to kind of keep using it until I hit pan or until I got tired of it. This is the LYS bronzer, and I have the shade Harmony, so it's the medium shade of bronzer. And it says here that the last update I did, I used it 33 times, and then on my counter app, I have that I used it 35 times. And I was thinking about that, and again, I was like, that doesn't seem right. But it actually does seem right because, again, I did do that audit for my cheek products, so I was testing out all of my powder bronzers in the months November, December, and then I was trying to use what I kept in January. And I did get sent a couple of other bronzers too this last month, I think, so I've been utilizing those because I want to talk to you guys about them since they are drugstore. But yeah, I guess I only used this 2 times, so obviously in the photos here we're not going to see a huge difference, but I do have faith that we are going to hit pan on this one very soon. And the last update, I did ramble a ton about how I got itchy to like buy a backup for this, but this is living proof right here of why I didn't need a backup. In that video, I was like, oh, we're gonna hit pan. I was almost certain that by the time we did our next update, we would see a significant panning going on. But we don't see any panning here. And I was right to listen to myself in that aspect, patting myself on the back for not buying a backup there. So just remember, a lot of your products, especially your powder products, they're gonna last forever. So even when you hit pan, I promise you guys, you probably have like at least another year of use. It's crazy how our minds get like really itchy to want to make it pristine and get a new one just in case. Keep using your products. The reason we have them is to use them up, not to hit pan, okay? Okay, next one we have is the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Water Powder Serum. So I did make a new mark here, and again, it is such a tiny difference here, but I will say that with this product, you really do not need a lot. So you have to use it a million bajillion times in order to see a big difference here, I'm convinced. So the last time that I did my update, I used it 9 times, and today I have that I have used it 13 times since the last update. I typically mix this with other primers, and what I mean is that I like to use this as like a base because it's so thin. It's pretty much like water, right? I will do my skincare, let that sit for a little bit, and then I will go in with my makeup. And when I want to use this, I will use this on my most oily areas. So T-zone right here, and a little bit like on my upper cheek area where I get very oily. And then I let that fully dry. I'll go and like do my brows or something, do my eyeshadow, and then I will go in with a separate primer. And these days it's been the Danessa Myricks Blurring Balm. So that one I will kind of sandwich. So I'll use it right here in my most oily areas. I'll use it like on the bigger areas of my cheeks because I feel like it gives me a very smooth canvas, and it also helps with oil throughout the day as well. I shared in the last video as well that I think that this has worked the best for me as something to use with other primers, and I still think that's true. There's been other primers like the Merit Moisturizer Primer that I've used for like hydration, but if I don't want too much hydration, I'll still go in with this on my T-zone, but the rest of my skin I'll leave with just that primer, and it allows for a very even dewy canvas, but not too much to where I get oily because I use this as well. I don't think that this is as strong of an oil sucker as like the one size primers that are supposed to be for oily skin. There's 2 different ones, and I actually have both of them, but those are like super almost like stage makeup primers that really suck up the oils on your skin. It's almost too much for daily wear. Like if I know I'm going to be wearing my makeup for 10+ hours and I need it to stay as oil-free as possible, then I will reach for those primers. But on a day-to-day basis, if I'm okay with a little bit of my oils coming through, then I will most likely go with the Danessa primer, this one, and the Blurring Balm. Let me know what you guys do, like if you mix it with any other primers, or you know, if you find that you have to use more or use less to see a big difference. I do think I want to test this on like a side-by-side type of deal where I wear on one side and not on the other, just to see how much of a difference it makes. Maybe by the next update I will do that so that we can talk about what I find. My Merit Solo Shadow, this one is in the shade Mid-Century, just this beautiful neutral brown tone or medium brown tone. I don't know if I would necessarily call this neutral. Well, yeah, I would call this neutral. What a beautiful cream eyeshadow. I've actually had this one the longest in terms of my Merit Solo shadows. Out of all the ones I've had, this one was my first one, and I still find this one extremely creamy and easy to use. I know that has not been the experience for everybody. I've seen people talk about how, you know, it separates from the outer rim right here, or they have a crack where it just completely dries out. Luckily, mine has been okay. I always make sure to actually close this to where it clicks shut. So in my notes, I have that the last time I updated, I used this 2 times. And again, this was going to be a product that I brought in once I finished other products in my project. And in my counter app, it says that I've used it 6 times. So that's a good amount. I'm happy with that. Not enough to where we can like see a physical difference here, but I know that I'm actually using it, so that's good enough for me. I have found that with this one, and I think I've said this previously, I can't wear this without a primer these days. For some reason, it just like gets too creasy on me. So I do have to use an eyeshadow primer before using this one. But how I've been really liking using this is to use it as like a sheer wash of brown all over the eyes before going in with any other powder shadows. I think that this gives a really nice kind of, again, foundational color, similarly to the Makeup by Mario bronzer. I feel like it's that perfect transition shade between my regular eyelid and, you know, a darker brown shade. Arguably, you can just use a crease color powder eyeshadow, but because I want to use this product before, you know, it dries out or what have you, this has been serving me really well. And it's actually so nice because it is creamy enough to where it blends just like a powder eyeshadow. It has the perfect amount of pigmentation to where it's really hard to mess this up. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least this shade, I have tried, I think it's the green shade. That one's harder to blend out and get an even blend just because the nature of it, it's a darker, deeper green shade, while this one is going to be easier to kind of diffuse and wash out on the eyelid. I used it, like I said, as a sheer wash, as a base for my eyeshadows, and then I used it a little bit on the wing, and then I went in with the Natasha Denona eyeshadow, the brown in there, and I used it to kind of like wing that out as well. I just kind of did a mixture on my eyelids, and I think it's really pretty. I think it's very easy, very natural, very like just simple. Okay, so the Patrick Ta duo. So I had She's the Moment in my project pan, but when I did my audit, I actually ended up getting rid of that one. And the reason why I did that was because I added it to our project about 2 videos ago, like 2 updates ago, and then the last update I had not used it, and then when I went and did my audit, I realized I still hadn't used it, so I decided to just go ahead and declutter it because I have a lot of Patrick Ta blushes, and a lot of them I do like more. And when I was testing out more of my bronzers and blushes and stuff, preparing for my audit, I was finding myself liking and reaching for those other shades more. And when I put that Patrick Ta duo in my project, it was solely because I wanted to just use that one because it was one of the older ones in my collection when it came to the Patrick Ta duos, but it just didn't seem like it was worth it to keep it. So I removed it from the collection, thus removing it from the project pan. I have not decided what I want to use to take its place. I am allowing myself 12 spots within my project pan, so that leaves a spot open, but I think I'm just gonna like organically let something make its way into the project. I'm gonna see what I've been using a ton, and if I feel like it's something that I want to use up or make a usage goal, then at that point I'll add it. And lastly, we have the Fwee pudding pot. This one is in the shade Fave, which is RD04. Mine's in Japanese because I got this one in Japan. This is going to be their matte, like blurry pudding pot, but this one I added the same time as that Patrick Ta one and the other products that I've been mentioning that we added. It says here the last time I had used it 1 time, and since then I've used it 3 times. So again, not the best, but I keep saying it, the audit. The audit really had me trying out different things. So because of that, I'm not disappointed because in doing that audit and in trying my other products, I have rediscovered a ton of things that I really like and a ton of lip combos that I am just, I'm just loving them. So I'm not mad. I'm not mad at it. The Maybelline Cloudtopias also came out, so I was using those a good amount whenever I was testing those out. Just a lot of things that are similar to this have hit the market. The ColourPop Cloud Whips, I think is what they're called. Those also released and I've been testing them out. And I have found that I've used the Fwee pudding pots a lot as a baseline to kind of judge those. So that says to me, I still really like these. I still think very highly of these, and I feel like a lot of different brands are trying to simulate the same success that Fwee has seen with these pudding pots. So that's just an interesting note. Anyways, I think that I'm going to really start using this one, but you know, who knows? By the next update, I might just be like, I use it an additional 1 time. I wouldn't be surprised. I feel like I might have forgotten something. Hopefully I have not, but if I have not forgotten anything, that is everything for this video. I really enjoy my project pans, you guys. Have any of you guys made significant progress since the last time I did one of these videos? I know a lot of you guys keep me updated in the comments about how yours is doing or like how you're starting your project pan, and those are always so fun for me to read. I feel like the last half of last year and the beginning of this year, it was a mixture of really diving into my collection and then testing out new products. So my project pan products have kind of been floating in and out within those categories. I have a lot of fun videos coming up for you guys where I'm talking about new products, and I'm also going to be talking about old products, so keep updated. Make sure you guys are subscribed if you're not. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you are interested in seeing our other Project Pan videos, I will link the playlist right here for you guys so you can easily see those. You can start from the beginning or just kind of see where we've been since starting this project. But until next time, you guys, I hope you take care of yourselves, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.